Hey, what's up you guys? I'm Sara Lubratt, and in today's video, we are going to be talking about how to be a faster writer. If you go on to enjoy this video or learn something from it, I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a big thumbs up because that really supports my channel. I've got 7 tips for you guys today, so without further ado, let's get into it. The first thing I recommend doing to become a faster writer is to pick a deadline. Have an idea of how long you want to give yourself to accomplish your goal. Also, what's your goal? As soon as you have a goal that's either a page number or a word count number and the deadline that you want to finish that project by, you can start breaking that down into smaller bite-sized pieces. Let's say you want to write a book that's 100,000 words long. If you wanted to write the rough draft of that book over the span of 3 months, you could break that down by month, week, day, whatever. As long as you can break down your larger goal into smaller bite-sized goals, you are much more likely to accomplish what you want to achieve. So if you wanted to write 100,000 words in 3 months and you wanted to break that down by month, you would need to write roughly 33,333 words a month, or 7,400 words a week, or 1,058 words a day, roughly. I also strongly believe that picking a deadline and then writing that deadline down physically, like on a sheet of paper, and then putting it somewhere where you will see it every day, especially in your writing space, is going to give you a huge leg up in reminding yourself that this is something that you want to do. And choosing a deadline is going to help enforce getting to that point. Tip number 2 is prepare before you start. Yes, I feel like this is advice that everybody gives to some varying degree. On one side of the spectrum, you have the full-blown plotters that need to know everything about the story in like a very extensive outline before they begin writing. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have pantsers who need to know pretty much nothing before going into their story. What I have found best for me and what I recommend for others is to try and find your middle ground. You might not need to know every single detail, but you might want to know a couple key things about your main characters and maybe where the plot is going. When I write, I tend to know what the last scene is going to be and a couple key things about my primary characters and maybe some of the world building, but other than that, I go into writing a book with very little information. However, I have found that the more information that I have at the beginning, the easier the book is to write. But I'm still not totally convinced that I can do full-blown plotting. There are lots of outline guides and character questionnaires online. If any of those things interest you, feel free to Google it, just so that you can get an idea of what works for other people, so that you can start formulating what you need to know before you write your story. My third tip is to write with timed writing sprints. What this means is that you sit down and you set a timer for how long you want to write. If you are new to these, I suggest like 15 or 20 minutes. If you're a little bit more advanced with these, maybe you want to try 30 or even like 45 minutes, where you set a timer for that length of time, and then when that timer is going, you are writing. There are a couple of things that you can do to eliminate distractions when you are doing a timed writing sprint or when you are writing in general, and that is to use something like the Forest app, which is a timer on your phone that you can set where you're growing a little plant for the duration of time that you set it for, and while you are growing that plant, if you close out of it, you kill the plant. This works for some people because it's motivation to not check social media or text messages or anything like that. And then my 2 favorites are throwing my phone on the couch. My couch is over there, so like when I'm writing here, it's a pretty easy toss for me to get it in that direction, and I always aim for like the crease of the couch so that it's not like flopping off into like, you know, the unknown, and it lands safely. My couch is soft, but just so that it is not within arm's reach, because then I am not as tempted to check my phone while I'm supposed to be writing. And then my third suggestion of what you should do with your phone is set your phone to a time lapse of you writing, because if you're taking a time lapse, you don't want to close out of that, because it's the same gist as the Forest app, because if you close out of it, then your time lapse is over. And there's something really satisfying about watching yourself type on a time lapse that makes you feel like you've gotten a lot done, and then kind of also gives you inspiration to keep going. Timed writing sprints were a game changer for me when I discovered them. And so if you have not tried them already, I highly recommend. Tip number 4, change your font and font color. There is something about the standard 12-point font that's Times New Roman in black that is so serious. It's what a lot of books are published in. It's what a lot of academic papers are published in. It's just a serious font and a serious font color. You can play around with those things, especially when you are writing this book for the first time, when you're editing it. It doesn't need to be that super serious font. You can play around with different fonts. Find something that feels less serious, less intimidating to you. I know that this is going to be kind of controversial. I love writing in Comic Sans. There's something so fun about Comic Sans that's so lighthearted that I can write so much easier. And when I'm writing in Comic Sans in different colored fonts, because for me, I like switching up the color of the font based on the writing sprint that I'm going in. So if I do a 20-minute writing sprint, I'll have it be like in purple, and then my next writing sprint, I'll do in green or something like that. And changing this up not only visually helps you realize how much progress you're making, but it's so much less serious. It's so much more fun. And it alleviates so much of the serious pressure of writing. Tip number 5 is to gamify writing. There's something about a timed writing a sprint alone that kind of gamifies it, because then you're trying to beat yourself with your last sprint of the same amount of time or something. That can be fun if you choose to do that. There's absolutely no pressure. But you can also write with a friend. The next video that I'm going to be putting out on this channel is actually a drinking game that I played, and I got so many words written because we were kind of being competitive about who could write the most. And gamifying it made the writing so easy and so much fun. If you don't have somebody that you can write in person with, if you have somebody that's long distance, you could write over FaceTime or Zoom or something along those lines. If you don't have a writing buddy yet, there are options. There are Facebook groups. You can always drop a comment down below on this video looking for other people, because I'm sure that there are multiple of you looking for writing buddies. Or if you like writing alone and still want to gamify your writing, there is a fun website that I found a while ago. This is not sponsored at all, but I like the website, so I'm going to mention it, called Fighter's Block. And basically it gamifies writing by having you as a little figurine fighting off against an enemy. You are beating the enemy, but if you are not typing, then your health bar slowly starts going down. I have used this a lot in the past. I honestly really enjoy it. Sometimes when I need the external motivation to be writing, Fighter's Block works great. Number 6, I'm sure that this is one that you guys have heard before, but don't edit while you write. This is also often easier said than done. It took me a very long time to realize that I wrote so much better and I wrote so much faster when I was not allowing myself to edit while I went. You can also take this to a variety of degrees. I have done this on pretty much every tier, going as extreme as turning off the red squiggly lines in Word so that I didn't know when I'd misspelled something. I have also gone as extreme as writing in a white font so that I couldn't see what I was writing, so that I could just keep going and keep typing and like staring at the wall and like trying to figure out like what I was gonna say next. But it also doesn't need to be that bad. Sometimes you just need to accept that you might have misspelled a word, you might have something that you want to change. You can always write that down, but this is where trust in your future self comes in trusting your future self to edit those things later on. Accepting that it's not going to be perfect and that there are going to be mistakes and that future you will take care of them helps you write a lot faster. It also takes a while to learn. Tip number 7, practice. Using these tips that we've talked about, as well as just practicing writing and practicing distractionless writing, practicing using writing sprints, practicing gamifying, practicing not editing while you're writing. All of these things will help you write faster, but you just have to practice. And the way that you practice is you sit down and you write. So that is my challenge for you guys now, is to close out of YouTube, open up your document, and write at least a paragraph. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Sara Lubratt. If you enjoyed this video, I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a big thumbs up, because that tells the YouTube algorithm that you liked my video and that someone else might too. And if you liked this video and want to see more like it, make sure you hit that big red subscribe button, because I'm posting 2 videos a week on Mondays and Thursdays most of the time. Sometimes it's Tuesdays and Fridays. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.